I would like to do a showcase on my first ever build guide and video on my character Thornheir, the Maelstrom Shepherd. The build was inspired by Diablo 2 based on the Windy Druid, which primarily focuses on the primary skill Tornado. I will first start off on how the build works and how it differs to other Tornado builds I've seen out there and the changes I've made over the week so far. So how Tornado works is it creates a storm that sucks in enemies and deals physical damage over time. A tornado that overlaps elemental ground surfaces, absorbing that surface's debuff, applying it to enemies inside the tornado and causing the tornado to do extra damage. So it's a dot-based build, which is damage per second. There is no crit function for tornado. When I first swapped to full tornado build, I was in the interlude and I was focusing mainly on physical damages skill nodes in my skill tree. But after playing around with the build, I found it more effective to use elemental nodes on the skill tree to build a highly impacted ground effects of burning, chilling and shock, which enhances the tornado skill. As you can see here, the fire, cold and lightning damage per second is greatly more than the physical damage per second here, and even with the physical damage nodes, it still wouldn't have stacked up to how much the elemental damage it currently is showing. Now, when I was in the interlude, I was using the bear form for the fire skills for Volcano and Walking Calamity, as it was easy to hit burning ground effects with this. Before I then made the change to the wolf form for the Pounce and Lunar Assault. So how my build differs to other builds I've seen out there is that I don't use the unique boots, Wake of Destruction or Birth of Fury to start my ground alignments. The build starts using the shape-shifting skills that GGG has provided us with 0.4. So the way I start my build is we utilize the skill Pounce. So Pounce pretty much jumps or leaps into a target location, and what I've done is I've added the support skill Charge Mark, which supports shock ground once triggered, along with Shocking Leap. So any target that I hit for the first time in our crit will also apply Shocking Ground with the pinpoint critical. So most of the time whenever I leap into a pack, I know that I'm going to be getting a Shocking Ground effect, which gives me my first alignment for my ground effects. And then once I've done that, I go straight into my Lunar Assault. So with that there, I've got it with Frost Nexus to create Chilling Ground, Pinpoint Critical and Magnifying Effect. You can see here my build up for freezing is up to over 1000% essentially. So most of the time the first strike I do is usually freezing every enemy and applying a nice chilling ground effect for myself. Once I have done both those things, the first thing I do is then cast my first tornado. So with my tornado, I've got it set up so I can cast a maximum of 3 primary ones, which will pretty much suck the chilling and shock ground effect and enhance my damage. Now with that there, what does intend to happen is if I don't have the effects that are needed, I will then use my Lunar Assault again to build up that freeze. Now the reason why I have Pinpoint Critical with my Lunar Assault and Pounce is because I'm running the cast on an element alignment plus cast on critical. So each hit I do with my Lunar Assault is proccing this, which is then casting another tornado along with elemental weakness and burning inscription to get my burning fire ground as well. Now because the talisman is melee and it goes well with critical stuff, so that's why I have the cast on critical here as well, which also does another tornado, so I can have up to 5 tornadoes going at once. So I have recently been playing with my skill tree a lot. I've modified it probably about 8 or 9 times over this past week. Just recently I've just changed it so it can filter out to my weapon swap 1 and weapon swap 2. So now when I use my weapon swap 2 for the talisman, it's focusing more on defensive nodes, when you freeze build up and critical stuff. where now my swap 1 is focusing more on my elemental side of things to boost. I did like to grab a few things down here because I think because you're constantly shapeshifting and changing form from animal to human, these nodes here are really beneficial to have, and they worked really well scaling with the damage per second. Now, in terms of my current gear, at the moment I've decided to go with an armored base build, just for the fact that because it's got a lot of heavy melee stuff in the build as well. I'm just something I'm playing with at the moment. It's not set, but it's just what I'm doing. So at the moment my current helmet is this here, so it's just a high armored based helmet, which is a few extra nodes in intelligence, as it is a very strength heavy build for the armor as well. So the most important thing with this build is how much spirit. It is spirit heavy, unfortunately, which is why I did the shaman to start off. I am looking at doing an oracle build as well, once I can work out what I can do with the spirit, but this sacred flow, up to 40 spirit on each of my empty charm slots. So all 3 of my charm slots are empty, which gives me an additional 120 spirit. As you can see here, I've got 292 and I've only got 2 spirit remaining. So my gear is currently spirit heavy. I can even got a few spirit on my amulet here. Now for my rings, I still haven't worked out what is best, so I'm still trying to play around. These are just what I got at the moment. Same for my gloves. So my gloves, the most important thing for the gloves at the moment is just trying to stack some armor on them, and attack speed. Attack speed is very important, because the faster I can land my lunar assault, the faster my build can start proccing. And then same for the boots. So my boots are just a high heavy armored based, with my elemental resistance and increased movement speed, which is always nice. My belt, I recently changed to the Darkness of the Throne, and that's just mainly because of the socketed items you can have. So the socketed item I've got in here is the Idol of Maxaris, which allows you to have an additional limit to your storm skills, which gives me my 3 tornadoes that I can cast at my primary. For my weapon, I'm using a staff. Staff is probably the best option for this here. So at the moment, the only thing I was able to, I guess, afford at the time was a 5 level overall spell skills. Ideally, you want a 7+ physical spell skills staff with at least minimum of 300 spell damage, because if you have a look here, the spell damage is where you get most of your damage from for your elements. And then for my secondary, so for my shapeshift, what you want to look for here, not so much the damage, because the damage is based on tornado. You want just high crit, high attack speed, so that way there you're critting and you're hitting or striking as fast as you need to. I am looking at getting a different talisman for this one here. I think the spiny talisman has a higher crit base, so at the moment you can see there that my critical hit chance is 9.70%. With some of the other bases you can get up to about 16% additional crit. So then that way there your cast and critical is going to hit a lot more faster. Now the other skill as well, so I use my bark skin for additional armor. We've got my wolf pack as well as another line of defense, and the other option that I picked within my ascendancy was the skill Apocalypse. Now this skill here is great for running your breaches, abyssal, I found was the best, and also your ritual. It's also a really heavy hitter for bossing. So you can see here that the meteor at the moment is probably my most damage that I have on it. It hits hard. When it's actually in the map, it hit about 48,000 DPS per meteor each time it hits, and you can see here that it lasts total of 13 seconds. So it's pretty much just massive meteor shower of lightning and everything, which is close to the Diablo 2 skill as well, Armageddon, which is why it makes the build so much more fun. Now, things I am working on, as I said, is utilizing the Oracle. I do apologize, the audio cut out, so I had to restart the second part of the video. So what I'm working on is the Oracle Ascendancy, purely for the fact that for the skill node, the path that which not has been taken, which is really cool. You actually get a lot more passive nodes up here and up here, which are playing around within the path of building, which greatly increases your elemental damage. For a lot smoother damage for single target as well. And the other thing is the inevitable critical strikes that you can get with it, which was also good because then that way there you're going to be triggering your caster on critical a lot more. Now this build I made with Druid. It can be done with other classes as well. Maybe in the future I am going to look at probably trying on other classes just to see how it goes, but for me my main focus is on the Druid anyway, so as I progress each week I'll be updating my guide, so please watch the space. And thank you everyone for watching. I'm open to all and any feedback, so please comment in the section, and hopefully we can make this build here end game viable. Thank you.